that aren't really familiar with the challenges that come with government contracting. So being able to help them overcome some of those challenges has been incredibly rewarding.
So Brian's going to interject in a second, but I want to have my last point before he does. And that point is, when you are defending yourself and the judge says, "What do you mean you don't have a lawyer?" And you say, "I don't need one because I'm innocent." And they say, "Yeah, but you don't know the language to convey to the jury." Is that kind of in the right realm?
Very, very much so. Very much so.
So can you give an example of some you've seen where someone, it's not that they're ignorant, they're extremely educated, but they don't know the language transition to government. And they say, "I just want to work with the government because I have something." What would be something that would be incorrect, so you're actually helping them translate that into it is going to be viable?
Mostly there's tons of contracting jargon. There's tons of just agency-based jargon, and the acronyms that you will find. I mean, they are just out of this world. You can spell any number of things with the acronyms that you can put together in government contracting.
Personal, but my love is, how do you hack life? How do you make life better in a more abundant, joyous, or whatever you deem to be successful? So do you have a hack for personal life?
I do. I really am huge on microlearning. So ultimately, I've gone to school, I've done the 4-year, I've done the 2-year, I've done the programs, I've done the certificates, but I've really found that the emergence of microlearning tools and techniques, podcasts, audiobooks, snippets, YouTubes, you can gather so much wisdom, and you can expend so few mental resources on gathering that wisdom that it turns out to be a value add and a value gain, and you waste and spend less time on the effort of doing so. Picking up tips and tricks from a 5-minute in the morning podcast. I mean, having that just 5-minute sort of enlightenment for the day can be all the difference. It really can.
So your answers are always phenomenal. My request is that you give an example. So can you give an example of 1 or 2 sources that
awareness for me as I've gone along and provided some strategic tips, tricks, hacks, and recommendations for things that I never would have thought of. So they ultimately are a collective of business owners, of folks that have come out of service, folks that have worked for the government, and many, many, many others that ultimately I look up to as leaders and as heroes in what they've done. And I try to take lessons from them in every regard.
Chelsea, you're not getting off that light.
Do I have to give somebody specific?
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about it this way. Brian's about to give you like $10,000 to $50,000 plane trip to take a week or 2 with this person. You get to meet them. You get to spend time with them. Who is that person you pick?
Oh gosh. That's hard. That's hard.
She's trying to say Wonder Woman.
I'll be nice to you. You can pick 2 or 3 because it's you, Chelsea, because you are a hacker of strategy.
Yes.
All right. Welcome to Checkmate Podcast with my colleague and partner in this beautiful book he's creating called Checkmate. So Dr. Brian Kent, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today. It's good to be here today, Ken, and great to have Chelsea with us today.
I want to say that if there's ever anyone that's been committed to a show, a podcast, and a book, it's you. He calls in from 3 a.m. in the morning from Hawaii, wherever he is in the world, and he travels extensively. So, Brian, thank you for being the man, the partner, and the friend to create this amazing book.
No, it's great. I'm glad we're getting to it now. I know it's been a vision for me and you for about a year and a half, and we're trying to put it together.
Well, I wouldn't call it trying. I would say trying maybe a year ago, but I think the fact is anything that's important in life, you just retool it. And actually the strategy is, if it doesn't work, find out what does. And if it doesn't work, find out what does and find out what does. So I want to applaud you because you know a lot of strategists, and we're trying to create a book that actually allows people to have a better business and better life. So would you share your vision on Checkmate real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. What we're trying to do is just find strategists in different markets: finance, government contracting, real estate, oil. They're going to be from all different walks of life, and getting just a look at how people that are actually trying to help with strategy or create strategy for the companies that they're working with, just a little peek inside how they actually look at life and look at their personal life and use those strategies to really make a difference in the world.
So since you're a strategist, soon to become the king of strategy, okay, because you know a lot of strategists, why is strategy so important to you, Brian?
I think the key piece to strategy is really nothing works without it. Those businesses or the individuals that don't really pay attention to where they're going in life, or they're trying to just let their company just wander aimlessly. I think the key is they're the ones that we see in that 99% failure. I mean, you have to have a plan, you have to have a strategy, you have to have a goal on how you're going to step forward. And if you don't, I think you just don't make it, or the likelihood of you making it is greatly diminished. I think that would be the real answer.
I agree with you. And the reason I asked you this again from the first show is because people don't realize without strategy, there is potentially a 99% failure rate. I mean, that is insane. So I want to tell you what strategy means to me. Strategy means instead of going the long haul to failure, you're shortening the distance to success.
That's a great example. That's right. So and it shortens the distance and speeds it up for a better success.
Yes, and it minimizes resources and time, which is invaluable. So, would you please introduce our wonderful guest for our third show on Checkmate, Chelsea?
All righty. I want to welcome Chelsea today. She is a breath of fresh air and a ball of fire when she's out there with industry. She works with companies trying to help them with their business growth. She hosts a podcast on government contracting that comes out at least weekly. I've been on it one time, and she's just a breath of energy in the market, and felt that she'd be a great addition to the team as we talk about strategy, because she's working with companies every day to build their strategy for the future.
So Chelsea, welcome to the show. And I want to say I'm so happy that Elon Musk has not cut your show from the budget. Okay.
If only it were paid for by the government.
But the fact that it's not paid for means that you believe in it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and by the way, that's a real testament to who you are. You are making a stand with a podcast, have a voice that you will pay for to help people better their life, better their abundance, and also better their success. So with that said, I know he gave you an introduction, but would you share who Chelsea is from a standpoint of, in 3 minutes, where you're born, your childhood, and how you became a you?
Sure. So my name's Chelsea Meggitt. I grew up and was born in Washington State. And I grew up in a government contracting business. So my parents actually started one and ran it very successfully for many years. They started it when I was 8. And ultimately, I was first prerogative was go back downstairs and put office clothes on, because jammies were no longer office attire at that point. Today, I have I sold their company on their behalf to help them, give them a chance to retire, and have started my own company helping other companies sort of succeed in government contracting.
So in essence, what is the need for a service like yours for government contracting when someone wants to get their business going?
Sure. The government market is completely different. It takes a different mindset. It takes different language. It takes different compliance, regulations, just a whole different perspective than it does in the commercial markets. So ultimately, companies that have no exposure to that, or have minimal exposure to that, aren't really familiar with the challenges that come with government contracting. So being able to help them overcome some of those challenges has been incredibly rewarding.
So Brian's going to interject in a second, but I want to have my last point before he does. And that point is, when you are defending yourself and the judge says, "What do you mean you don't have a lawyer?" And you say, "I don't need one because I'm innocent." And they say, "Yeah, but you don't know the language to convey to the jury." Is that kind of in the right realm?
Very, very much so. Very much so.
So can you give an example of some you've seen where someone, it's not that they're ignorant, they're extremely educated, but they don't know the language transition to government, and they say, "I just want to work with the government because I have something." What would be something that would be incorrect, so you're actually helping them translate that into it is going to be viable?
Mostly there's tons of contracting jargon. There's tons of just agency-based jargon, and the acronyms that you will find. I mean, they are just out of this world. You can spell any number of things with the acronyms that you can put together in government contracting.
I want to say thank you to that. That's a big point, because Brian is so intelligent in the area of government and acronyms. He'll say all these acronyms, and I say, "I wish I knew that language. I wish I knew that language." And by the way,
it's that
because
hard.
because he knows the acronyms, he has a quick acceleration to someone saying, "Oh, you're in, not out."
Very much so. It's like you're speaking their native language.
You got it. So, Brian, go ahead, go for it, brother.
Okay, well, let's jump right in, Chelsea, and just share kind of how you became a strategist.
Sure. So I was fortunate or unfortunate enough, some people's perspective varies, to be growing up in a very strategically driven company. So my folks ran an ocean engineering company, and starting that as a woman-owned small business, going up against some of the big guys like Raytheon and Lockheed, they were kind of at a disadvantage from the start. So they had to be very, very strategic in what they did and how they positioned themselves and how they bid and how they moved throughout the market. And ultimately, they position themselves very strategically to work alongside those competitors, to make those competimates or frenemies, as we like to say in this industry. So they ultimately gave me a front row seat to a very effective growth strategy for government contracting. And throughout my life, I had the fortune to pick up a lot of that information and to pick up a lot of that those tips and tricks. And throughout my career, as I've grown my own company, it's only become stronger. It's only become a bigger learning experience and a bigger opportunity to see different strategies, to see lack of strategy and how that impacts companies, and to see how that ultimately providing those lessons that I've learned to companies has helped them form their strategies as well.
So that those are big guys. I mean, Lockheed Martin. I mean, massive.
Oh yeah. Oh
Would
yeah.
you divulge, if you will, the strategy that actually caused you to equalize or become viable as a choice?
Sure. So ultimately, it became a sort of an I Spy game of where are their weaknesses? Where are the things that we could provide value that they don't necessarily have or that they're overlooking because they're so big? And ultimately, it became a an area of where we can provide, or my parents, or ultimately their company was able to provide services that just kind of fell into a gap where they weren't providing that services or they were overlooking that market because it was too small or it wasn't necessarily directly aligned with what they did. So they carved out a pretty effective niche for themselves within that realm.
I think that terminology maybe you're leaving too much money on the table. Like you found areas where there was a lot of opportunity, and
Oh
you
yeah,
said, "Yeah, that's really
yeah,
cool." Brian?
Yeah, I think also just not just leaving money on the table. I think it's some of the big companies are so big they can't slow down to pick up the change.
yep,
And if you're a
yep.
small company, the change in the dollar bills will add up to a lot of money, and they'll never even know that it's missing. I think so. Chelsea, let's jump right into the next question. Then, what's your best business, or what's the business strategy, or the best one that you like to use?
Pivot. Pivot at an effective time. Once you notice something is changing, once you notice the market circumstances are starting to turn, be ready and be able to pivot and adjust your strategy accordingly. Too many companies have not addressed they start with a business plan and they say, that's my strategy, right? They don't ever go back and they don't ever look at that. They just kind of keep going down that same road. And ultimately, without reassessing and checking your stop gates at that point, you really realize that, okay, well, we're just kind of going towards a nowhere end. And ultimately, having to go back and be ready to adjust when times call for adjustment is something that too many companies lack.
So our audience, our readers, are going to ask the inevitable question you would not address if I didn't say this is the open gap. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
How do you notice there's a pivot opportunity?
That's hard. There's signs all over, right? So there's
So give us a couple. Give us a couple signs you should look for.
sure. New entrants. First of all, first and foremost, you've got new entrants that are coming in that are making waves, that are getting attention, that are getting headlines. If you notice that there's companies that you've never heard of before that all of a sudden you're seeing competing on similar bids, then there's probably some indication there that there's market change happening, and there's ultimately a shift away from legacy or what may have been best in the past. Things like AI right now and like companies like Anduril or Palantir. They're new entrants that you wouldn't necessarily have expected to be as strong competitors as they are, but noticing that they were coming into the market 7 years ago, 10 years ago, that gives you the opportunity to say, okay, things are turning, things are shifting. I need to start looking at this market slightly differently than what I was looking at it in the past, because they're not just going for what they've always gone for. They're looking towards new solutions and new offerings.
I think the remark to that is change is inevitable. Are you ready for it?
Yes, exactly. Adapt or die.
Adapt or die. God bless you. All right. So my big question. So the partnership that Brian and I have is he's very strategic in business. And it isn't that he's strategic, not strategic and personal, but my love is how do you hack life? How do you make life better in a more
Yes.
abundant, joyous, or whatever you deem to be successful? So do you have a hack for personal life?
I do. I do. I really am huge on microlearning. So ultimately, I've gone to school, I've done the 4 year, I've done the 2 year, I've done the programs, I've done the certificates, but I've really found that the emergence of microlearning tools and techniques, podcasts, audiobooks, snippets, YouTubes, they you can gather so much wisdom and you can expend so few mental resources on gathering that wisdom that it turns out to be a value add and a value gain, and you waste and spend less time on the effort of doing so. Picking up tips and tricks from a 5 minute in the morning podcast. I mean, having that just 5 minute sort of enlightenment for the day can be all the difference. It really can.
So your answers are always phenomenal. My request is that you give an example. So can you give an example of one or two sources that you use to get a personal hack?
Sure. So I ultimately I love podcasts. I listen to a ton of them, and there's a couple that I really appreciate. So the Defense and Aerospace podcast has just incredible amounts of wisdom that they pack into about a 45-minute show, and being able to gather all of that, basically my week's news in a 45-minute chunk, is just incredible. It's all real time. It's all very relevant, and I'm not waiting for the next publication to come out. It's very timely in that regard. I also love 5 Good Minutes. So having that ultimately that 5 good minutes of 5 minutes of just some enlightening positive material to get my day on a good start, I think tends to be a good way to get things going.
And your podcast is strategic as well.
My podcast is strategic as well. My podcast is to give a platform for folks to share their experiences and stories, whatever they are, positive, negative, and, expressing their experiences, learning their mistakes that they've made throughout the government contracting ecosystem. And that comes from both sides. So from the government side as well as industry side. I want to hear all of it.
So your best one or two stories may actually end up being in the book if you want to nominate them, because to get to 52, we are looking for nominations.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Brian, would you like to ask either a question to conclude the conversation, or are we going to trivia?
No, I think the key thing, and I think I like what you've been saying, Chelsea. It's I think the big thing with the strategist, as you were just saying, like in government contracting, you have to look at both sides, both from the government side and from the industry side. And I think a lot of businesses sometimes forget that, and the R factor I talk about is the relationship management, and it's inside the company and around the peripheral. But it's not just your employees, it's also your vendors and your buyers. So if you don't look at the total thing, it's hard to put a whole strategy together without looking at the whole ecosystem.
Well, but Brian, just from your R factor, it's also the more you're giving to your relationships, the factor of information, inside information, to make you pivot, as she put earlier, makes it very easy to see
enhanced.
They care about you succeeding.
Yeah, it's definitely an enhanced way of business, because you're looking at the total problem, not just the total solution, but the total problem to make sure you can get a good solution. Okay, well, we'll jump into.
Before we jump into trivia, make sure, Chelsea, is there anything else you'd like to add about strategy? Anything you want to add before we go into trivia?
Oh gosh, I think I just want to hit that double nail on the head there. Look at both sides of the problem. Government they have a totally different perspective, and if you ignore your customers, if you ignore that side of the problem, then you're stovepiping yourself, and you ultimately will never see outside of your own horizons.
Beautiful. So we have several questions to ask you that are more about your programming of how you became successful. So I'd like to ask the first one: what book changed your life?
I don't know if you've heard this one before, but Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma.
I haven't.
That was one of the business books, one of the books that I read in business school, and I found that book to be so informative and so rewarding. It just gave so many different examples of ultimately how innovators come into struggles and how they can ultimately find their way out of those innovative sort of boxes that they find themselves in and limiting boxes, and being able to think about innovation in a different way than what I would typically have thought of it as. So I found that book to be one of the books that I continuously go back to, that I continuously have on my shelf, that I like to go back and relate to. It published in 1997, but still fantastic book and incredibly relevant in this time.
So Innovator's Dilemma.
Yep.
What's it called?
It's Clayton Christensen's The Innovator's Dilemma.
Innovator's Dilemma. So normally our questions are more concise and the answers are as well, but this was intriguing because you gave something I'd never heard of. Author. Yeah. And so is he still around, or are you able to get to him?
Yeah, I believe he's still around. I haven't personally talked to him, which brings up a great point. I absolutely should reach out. But yeah, yes, I think he's still around, and he's still got some very innovative and informative thoughts to provide.
So strategy inside of strategy.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you think a book is the best book you could recommend, reach out to the author and say that you are promoting it as a strategist, and they'll probably say, I would love to help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if we're going to work together on this, but we would like to get to him from a standpoint. I haven't actually not heard the author or the strategist, the book title. And if it changed your life, it'll change others. Is that something?
I'm sure.
All right, Brian.
All righty. Let's jump into your favorite movie. Which movie really jumps out at you?
I love the movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe.
That is a great one.
That is a good one.
And by the way, a great one, but man, was that a wild ride.
Yes, exactly. It had me thinking the entire time, and back and forth and questioning things, and it just really had me just captivated the whole movie. And I feel like it was an excellent production.
Yeah, you Absolutely. Leave that movie and you're like, what did I just experience?
Yes, what yeah, exactly.
Can you imagine the script writing for that? I mean, that was so circular and convoluted. Yes. I mean, it was really crazy.
Yes.
So this is a lighter question, but have as much fun as you want. Sure. A song that gets you going, or an artist that you really appreciate.
Okay. So Where is the Love by the Black Eyed Peas?
Nice.
It's just one of those songs that has the continuous beat that I really love. I know every word to it. I can sing it back and front, and it's just kind of always one of those enlightening songs, and it seems to be continuously relevant.
Yeah, I agree. So Brian, when we have the strategy gala where we bring all 52 of the authors together, we have to have this playlist ready to go.
Yeah, just for the whole time, just you're playing in the background, right? So they figure out where people can start figuring out, name that tune, right?
Right.
So okay, superhero, who jumps out at you?
So my hero isn't one specific person, but it's really a collective of really strong and inspiring women who have really provided the insights and provided the sort of awareness for me as I've gone along, and provided some strategic tips, tricks, hacks, and recommendations for things that I never would have thought of. So they ultimately are a collective of business owners, of folks that have come out of service, folks that have worked for the government, and many others that ultimately I look up to as leaders and as heroes in what they've done. And I try to take lessons from them in every regard.
Chelsea, you're not getting off that light.
Do I have to give somebody specific?
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about it this way. Brian's about to give you like $10,000 to $50,000 plane trip to take a week or two with this person. You get to meet them. You get to spend time with them. Who is that person you pick?
Oh gosh. That's hard. That's hard.
She's trying to say Wonder Woman.
I'll be nice to you. You can pick 2 or 3 because it's you, Chelsea, because you are a hacker of strategy.
Yes.
You can not only invite 1, but you can invite 2 or 3 on your private plane for 3 weeks to a month, anywhere you want, to spend time with them. Who is it?
Okay. I really look up to Kelly Girardi. She's an astronaut. She's, I think, Woman of the Year, one of the Women of the Year this year. And she's been very open about her struggles in her personal life and her professional life that have led her to the point that she's at. So I really admire her openness and her willingness to be vulnerable with the world and to put herself out there as she is and not provide any sort of filter or.
That's Kelly. Who else?
Yes. I like Trish Martinelli, who is a former OSBP provider, and she ultimately came out of Army. And she's a fantastic, incredibly intelligent resource for defense entrepreneurs throughout the world.
Oh, wait a second. Oh my gosh, Kelly and Trish are saying they accept your. This is incredible. They accept your offer. Is there anyone else? Is there a third person?
There is a third person. I'll say Stephanie Alexander, and she's one of the founders of GovMates, which is a government matchmaking service that ultimately is not your mother's matchmaking. So for all of those out there who are interested in that, and she's just a fantastic leader. She's incredibly inspiring. She's gone through her own personal struggles that I've really admired watching, and she's really found out the secrets to life and taking the time to.
Well, I have them on speaker, so they're going to invite her as well.
Fantastic.
Okay.
So here's the deal, Chelsea. You just heard a strategy and podcast, and I know that you're a podcast and you probably know this, but the point is when you say there are so many and you don't get a name, you don't get a chance to one tag, but more importantly, you don't get to say they made a difference. And that misses their opportunity to say, I'm doing my thing, because you're doing big things in the world to make a difference. And if someone said your name, you'd be like, validation, I am actually making a difference. So
Definitely.
thank you for sharing 3. And it means a lot to me, because when someone says, I really have my son as my hero or my daughter, I say their name. So,
Right.
All right, go ahead, Brian.
All right, we'll bring it here to a close, Chelsea. What is the quote you like to live by?
Be persistently passionate about what you do.
Did you say eat persistently?
Be persistent.
Oh, be.
Passionate
It's
about what you do.
No, it's lunchtime.
It's lunchtime, kid. That's right.
And where are you located, Chelsea?
I'm just north of Seattle.
Okay, so when I travel around the world and I say I'm in Washington D.C., they go, which one?
Yep.
I'm the East Coast one. I'm the East Coast one. The other one they dropped to D.C.
Well, we're supposed to be inhabited here.
Well,
all righty.
It's a pleasure having you on. How do people reach you, listen to you, connect with you?
Absolutely. So I am the host of the GovCon Unscripted Podcast. You can find that on any of your podcast players, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn / Chelsea Meggitt, and my company is Collaborative Compositions. So that's www.collaborativecompositions.com.
I love it. And you were a wonderful guest, and thank you for showing up. We asked Chelsea, would you like to be live or recorded? And she goes, live.
We'll do it.
There's no Memorex for her. It's all live.
Always.
All right. Well, thank you very much. You're in Checkmate, the podcast, and you're going to be in the book. And this is going to be used as a nice little QR code so people can experience your beautiful spirit.
Fantastic. I love it.
Thank you.
All righty.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.